This video is about she arrived at the bookstore and a rich stranger bought her coffee. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts and comments. The sun was a sliver of amber hanging low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the bustling streets of downtown Maplewood. Clara stepped out of her apartment, her heart racing with a blend of anticipation and dread. Today was the day she had finally decided to revisit her dream of working in publishing, a dream that had lain dormant while she juggled her responsibilities at the local cafe. She adjusted the oversized scarf around her neck, a gift from her grandmother that always made her feel a little braver. The cozy yarn enveloped her in memories of childhood tales and warm hugs, and as she walked, she inhaled the crisp autumn air, its familiar scent laced with the promise of change. Clara made her way toward the quaint little bookstore, the cozy nook, nestled between a vintage clothing shop and a small bakery that wafted the delicious aroma of fresh bread through the air. It was her sanctuary, a place where reality blurred into the pages of novels, where she could lose herself in the lives of characters far removed from her own. As she entered, the soft chime of the doorbell signaled her arrival. The dim lighting and the smell of paper, ink, and coffee wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She could see her favorite nook was available, the plush armchair by the window, the perfect spot for both reading and people watching. Clara made her way to the small cafe section, where she ordered her usual almond milk latte. The barista, a cheerful woman with a bright smile named Mia, handed her the cup, and Clara took a moment to savor the warmth in her hands. "Any plans for today?" Mia asked, wiping her hands on her apron. "Just some writing," Clara replied, her voice carrying a hint of uncertainty. "I am hoping to work on my manuscript." "Nice, you've been saying you'd get back to it. Just do it," Mia encouraged, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Clara smiled, though inside, a flicker of doubt crept through her. It had been months since she had written anything substantial. With her latte in hand, Clara headed toward her favorite chair, but her path was abruptly interrupted by a tall figure lost in thought. He was dressed in a tailored navy suit that hinted at wealth, his dark hair tousled in a way that looked effortlessly charming. "Beth," Clara exclaimed, stepping back just in time to avoid a collision. The man looked up, his piercing blue eyes locking onto hers, and she felt an inexplicable jolt of awareness race through her. "I am so sorry," he said, his voice deep and smooth, like dark chocolate melting on her tongue. No, it was my fault," Clara stammered, feeling her cheeks heat. "I should have been paying more attention." He smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through the clouds. "Looks like we both need to watch where we're going. I am Alex," he said, extending his hand. "Clara," she replied, shaking his hand. The contact sent a ripple of warmth up her arm, and she quickly let go, hoping her flustered expression didn't betray her thoughts. "Nice to meet you, Clara. Are you a fan of this place?" he asked, glancing around with genuine interest. "I practically live here," she joked, trying to mask the fluttering nerves in her stomach. "I love to read and write, but Her voice trailed off, revealing her hesitation. "But He leaned in, curiosity etched on his features, and Clara felt her heart race. "I haven't been writing as much as I'd like," she confessed, biting her lip. "Life just gets in the way sometimes." "I understand that," Alex said, nodding thoughtfully. "I am in finance, so I know a thing or two about life getting complicated." The conversation flowed easily, as if they were old friends rather than strangers in a bookstore. Clara learned he had recently moved to Maplewood for work, and was still getting accustomed to the pace of small-town life. She found his passion for art and literature refreshing, and for a brief moment, the world outside faded away. "So, what are you doing here today?" Clara asked, her curiosity piqued as she glanced at the books stacked on the shelves. "Just exploring, trying to find some inspiration," Alex replied, his eyes darting toward a shelf filled with classic novels. "I have a bit of a weakness for good stories." "Then you're in the right place," she said, a smile breaking through her earlier doubts. "What is your favorite genre?" "Definitely fiction, something that transports me, like this one," he said, pointing to a well-worn copy of The Great Gatsby nestled between two newer titles. "This is a classic. You've got good taste," Clara remarked, feeling a spark of connection growing between them. "Care to join me for a coffee?" he asked, glancing at her half-finished latte. "I'd love to hear more about your writing." For a fleeting second, Clara hesitated. In her mind, a battle raged. She had promised herself she wouldn't get distracted, but something about Alex's invitation made her heart flutter. "Okay," she finally replied, feeling a rush of excitement. "I do like that." They settled at a small table near the back of the cafe, a soft murmur of other customers creating a cozy backdrop to their conversation. As they sipped their drinks, the chemistry between them intensified, a palpable current that neither could ignore. "So, what is your manuscript about?" Alex asked, leaning forward slightly, his intense gaze focused on her. Clara took a deep breath, pulling her thoughts together. It is a historical fiction piece set in the 1920s. It explores themes of love, loss, and the pursuit of dreams. She shared, her emotions spilling out as she spoke. "That sounds fascinating," he said, his admiration evident. "What inspired you?" Clara hesitated, unsure of how to express the complexity of her inspiration. "A lot of it comes from my family's history. My grandparents lived through that era. Their stories shaped my understanding of resilience." Alex nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Family legacies can be powerful motivators. I can relate. My parents sacrificed a lot for me to have the opportunities I have now." There was an unspoken understanding between them, a shared appreciation for the weight of family expectations and the pursuit of personal passion. Yet, beneath the surface, Clara felt a flicker of nervousness, a worry that her aspirations seemed small compared to the grandeur of his world. As they continued to talk, Clara caught glimpses of Alex's life, a successful career, the power suits, and the events that filled his evenings. She wondered if someone like him could ever truly understand the struggles of someone like her, who fought daily against self-doubt. Just then, a loud commotion interrupted her thoughts. A group of friends burst into the cafe, their laughter echoing through the cozy space. Clara's gaze shifted involuntarily towards the noise, momentarily breaking the intimate bubble she had shared with Alex. "Looks like we were not the only ones enjoying coffee today," he chuckled, but Clara could sense a subtle change in his demeanor, a flicker of disappointment. "Yeah, they seem like they were having fun," she replied, feeling a pang of guilt for letting the distraction pull her away from their moment. "Are you okay?" Alex asked, his brow furrowing slightly. "Just a little distracted, I guess," she admitted, her heart racing, unsure of how to navigate the waves of emotion swirling inside her. "Clara, it is okay to be distracted. Life happens. Just know that I am genuinely enjoying this time with you," he said, his voice lowering slightly, lending an air of intimacy to his words. Their eyes met, and the unspoken tension thickened between them. Clara felt the warmth spread through her, igniting a mix of desire and uncertainty. It was exhilarating to connect with someone like this, yet the weight of her insecurities lingered in the back of her mind. "Thank you for saying that," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Perhaps we can make this a regular thing," he suggested, a hopeful smile spreading across his face. Clara felt her heart leap at the idea, but a flicker of doubt dashed through her mind. Was this just another fleeting interaction, or could it lead to something deeper? As she gazed into his eyes, the world around them faded away, leaving just the two of them suspended in this moment of possibility. "Yeah, I do like that," she replied, a smile creeping onto her lips. And just like that, amidst the books and the aroma of coffee, Clara found herself on the brink of something new, something exciting, and yet, despite the thrill, a tiny voice in her head whispered, "What if he discovers the real you?" As Clara sipped her latte, the warmth of the cup felt like a comforting embrace against the growing tension between her and Alex. She noticed how his tailored suit accentuated his broad shoulders, the way his blue eyes sparkled with curiosity as he listened intently. Each fleeting glance sent electric tingles through her, and she found herself leaning in closer, eager to know more about the man seated across from her. The laughter from the group of friends faded into a background hum, their boisterous energy contrasting sharply with the intimate mood they had crafted. Clara could feel her heart racing, a mixture of excitement and trepidation swirling within her. "So, Alex, what do you do in finance?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation away from the gnawing insecurity that threatened to surface. "Mostly investment strategies," he replied, his tone casual, but the glint in his eye revealed a deeper passion. "But honestly, I enjoy the storytelling aspect of it. Every investment has a tale, just like every character in a novel." "Interesting. So you see the numbers as characters?" Clara mused, her fingers curling around the cup. "I guess every story needs a good plot twist." "Exactly," he said, leaning back in his chair. "And sometimes the twists are what make the whole thing worthwhile, like meeting you here today," he added, his gaze unwavering. Her cheeks flushed at the compliment, a flutter of pleasure running through her. "You are quite the charmer, aren't you?" Clara teased lightly, but a hint of vulnerability edged her words. "I call it being honest," he replied, the corner of his mouth lifting into a playful smirk. "But really, I am glad I bumped into you. I haven't met anyone who makes me want to share my story lately." Clara's heart did a little flip, and she bit her lip, contemplating her next words. Was there a deeper significance behind his statement? What was she really to him? Just a fleeting moment in his new life? I'll admit, I am a little nervous, she confessed, her voice softening. I haven't shared my writing with anyone in a long time. Why is that? Alex asked, tilting his head slightly, his expression shifting to concern. It is just, I've always felt that my stories are too small, too insignificant, like they don't matter in the grand scheme of things. She paused, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. And when I see someone like you, it is hard not to feel that way. Clara, that is not true, he said firmly, his eyes locking onto hers. Every story matters, especially the ones that come from the heart. You never know who might find solace in your words. His earnestness struck a chord deep within her, igniting a spark of hope that warmed her inside. Thank you for saying that, she said earnestly, holding his gaze. It means more than you know. There was a moment of silence, and for the first time, Clara felt the weight of her insecurities lifting. She was surprised by how easily she connected with Alex, but she also feared the implications of that connection. What if he discovered her shortcomings? What if he changed his mind about wanting to know her? You were really quite inspiring, he said, breaking her reverie. You have this passion that radiates, it is refreshing. Clara's cheeks flushed again, but beneath the warmth was a flicker of uncertainty. You really think so? I do, he said, leaning slightly closer, the atmosphere crackling with an unspoken tension. I've seen people who pursue their dreams half-heartedly, but you seem so genuine, so committed. Her heart raced at his words, but a nagging doubt creeped back in. What if this is just a passing fancy for you? What if I am just the girl you met by chance? Clara's voice wavered, the question hanging heavily in the air. Alex's expression shifted, a moment of contemplation crossing his face. Clara, I don't want you to think that. I mean... He paused, searching for the right words. This isn't just a whim for me. There is something here. Feeling her heartbeat thumping in her ears, Clara tried to suppress her excitement. What do you mean by something? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, caught between hope and fear. I don't know yet, but I am curious to find out, he replied, his gaze steady. I want to know more about you, your writing, what makes you tick, things like that. A warmth bloomed in her chest, but Clara couldn't shake the doubt that lingered. I am not sure you do want to stick around once you really get to know me, she admitted, her heart racing at the vulnerability of her admission. His brow furrowed slightly, confusion flickering in his eyes. What do you mean? I mean, I am just a girl working a calf chasing a dream that feels far away, she said, the words spelling out before she could stop them. I am not part of your world, Alex. You belong to something bigger. Clara, you have no idea what I see when I look at you, he replied, his voice steady but his tone laced with intensity. You have a light that draws me in. Whatever world you think you belong to, it doesn't matter to me. I want to immerse myself in who you are. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and Clara felt a rush of warmth spread through her, battling the doubts swelling within. You be serious? She asked, her voice quivering with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Absolutely, he replied, his intensity unwavering. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. The raw honesty in his gaze made her heart race, but an unsettling thought crossed her mind. But what happens when you discover the messy bits, the insecurities and fears that come with chasing a dream? Then we tackle them together, he said, the sincerity in his eyes making her pulse quicken. I am not looking for perfection, I am looking for authenticity. His words ignited a flicker of courage within her, and Clara felt the tension between them shift. Maybe I don't even know what authenticity looks like, she confessed, her voice raw. I am still figuring it out. Then let us figure it out together, he said softly, his gaze unwavering. The sincerity in his tone burst through her doubts, and for a moment the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them suspended in this intimate moment. The air hummed with unspoken possibilities, and Clara felt a rush of emotions, fear, hope, and an undeniable attraction. She studied his face, the way the corners of his lips turned up slightly when he smiled, and how the light caught in his hair. Clara, can I ask you something? He said, breaking the silence that enveloped them. Of course, she replied, her heart racing. If you had to describe your story in one sentence, what would it be? She took a deep breath, the weight of the question pressing against her chest. A girl learning to embrace her dreams in a world that sometimes feels too big, Clara said, her voice steady, though her heart raced. Then let us make it a story worth telling, he said, the intensity in his gaze unwavering, and Clara felt her breath hitch in her throat. The moment hung thick with promise as she watched him, the chemistry between them almost palpable. Clara felt an overwhelming urge to lean closer to bridge the distance that had begun to feel electric. Just then, Mia the barrister appeared at their table, a knowing smile on her face. "Can I get you two anything else?" she asked, interrupting the charged atmosphere, oblivious to the world of emotions unfolding. "It's just the magic that comes with a good book," Alex replied smoothly, his eyes still locked on Clara, a playful glint in his gaze. "Okay, but you have to buy me a cupcake for that," Mia quipped, her laughter lightened in the moment. Clara laughed, feeling the tension dissipate a little. "I can definitely get on board with that," she said, relief washing over her. As Mia went to fetch the cupcake, Clara and Alex exchanged a glance, the moment of uncertainty lingering but transformed into shared understanding. "See," he said, breaking the silence. "Life has its distractions, but we can choose how to respond." "Maybe you're right," Clara replied, the warmth of hope blossoming in her chest. "Maybe I should stop worrying so much about the imperfection." "Exactly," he said, leaning closer once more, their knees almost touching beneath the table. "Life is about the journey, Clara, and I want to be a part of yours if you will let me." Clara felt a rush of emotions that turned to furious hopes and desires, all swirling together. Maybe this was the beginning of something extraordinary. As they spoke, the world outside continued to whirl past, but within the cozy confines of the cozy nook, Clara found a flicker of possibility that she hadn't dared to dream of before. And as she looked into Alex's eyes, she didn't just see a stranger anymore. She saw a potential partner in her story, one willing to navigate that. The atmosphere in the cafe took on a weighty warmth as Mia returned with a small cupcake topped with swirls of creamy frosting. Clara's half fluttered as she watched Alex's eyes light up with delight. "Here is your magical treat," Mia said, placing the cupcake in front of Clara. Clara couldn't help but smile at her, now settling just a little. "Thank you," Clara said, reaching for the cupcake, her fingers brushing against Mia's. "You always know how to brighten my day." Mia grinned, then turned her attention to Alex. "And what about you? You were not getting a cupcake?" "Tempting as that is, I think I'll save my appetite for dinner," he said, winking at Clara, his gaze lingering. "After all, I have to impress my new friend with my culinary skills later." Clara's cheeks flushed at the suggestion, the idea of being invited into his world sending a rush of adrenaline through her. "At dinner, huh? Are you always this forward?" she teased lightly, her voice playful but her heart pounding. "Only when the company is as enchanting as yours," he replied, his tone serious, and Clara felt the warmth of his compliment seep into her skin. "Charming and bold," she remarked, her heart racing. "What is next? A confession of undying love?" She laughed to hide her nervousness, unsure of how to tread the line between flirtation and seriousness. "Just putting it out there," he said, his eyes sparkling mischievously, but beneath the humor, she sensed a knife edge of sincerity. "But in all seriousness, I am curious about you, Clara. I want to know what makes you tick." Her stomach fluttered. "What if you find out things you don't like?" she asked, her voice quieter. "What if I don't measure up to your expectations?" The question lingered between them, pulling at the threads of their budding connection. "Clara," he said, his expression earnest, "I am not looking for perfection. I am looking to understand who you are beneath the calf apron and the writing aspirations. I am more interested in your heart than your potential." His words ignited both hope and fear within her. "It is easier said than done to drop the facade," she admitted, her tone reflective. "I've spent so long hiding behind my stories, afraid of judgment." "Then let us peel back those layers together," he suggested, his voice gentle yet firm. "Life is too short to hide." As Clara looked away, taking a moment to gather her thoughts, she felt a well of emotion rise inside her. This connection felt rare, but she feared how brittle it might be. What if she couldn't live up to the potential he saw? What if he was just drawn to the thrill of the chase? "I don't want to waste your time," she said, her voice trembling as she returned her gaze to him. "You could have anyone, and I am just me." "It just you is more than enough," he replied, his intensity unwavering. "It is what I want. Seeing you in this light makes me want to know every detail, your stories, your dreams, your fears. What makes you, Clara?" The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket, easing some of the tension that had knotted in her stomach. "Okay," she whispered softly, feeling a spark of courage. "Then let me show you." "Show me?" He leaned closer, their faces inches apart, and Clara felt her heart race. The air was thick with unspoken words, the tension thickening as she absorbed the depth of his gaze. "All right," she said, summoning her resolve. Let us start with the fact that I am not living the glamorous life you used to. I work long hours a calf, and I often doubt if I'll ever make it as a writer. Everyone starts somewhere, Alex said, and his expression softened. This is just the beginning for you, Clara. Don't you forget that. She sighed, her shoulders dropping slightly as if a weight had been lifted. I want to believe that, she murmured, her voice breaking. But I've been chasing this dream for so long, and I just can't shake the feeling that it may never come true. Do you think I got here overnight? He asked, his tone shifting to one of understanding. Success takes time and perseverance. I had my own battles before I landed my job in finance. What do you mean? Clara asked, intrigued. I grew up in a small town myself, where dreams felt distant. My parents worked hard to give me a chance, he confessed, his voice laced with honesty. There were days I doubted my abilities. The pressure to succeed is immense. I can relate, Clara replied, her heart softening at his vulnerability. But you succeeded despite those doubts. I feel like my worries are holding me back. Embrace them instead, he suggested, his eyes unwavering. Doubt can be a catalyst for growth. Use it to fuel your passion. Remember, it's okay to be messy in the pursuit of your dreams. I wish I had your confidence, she admitted, feeling a rush of warmth spread through her chest. You make it sound so simple. Confidence is cultivated, Clara. It comes from facing those fears head on, he said, the sincerity in his tone pulling at her heartstrings. I see something special in you. Don't you underestimate that. His words filled her with a sense of possibility, but doubt still lurked beneath the surface. And what if I can't live up to the expectations? What if you realize I am not who you thought? She asked, her voice trembling. I am not expecting perfection, he reassured, his voice low and steady. I am here because I want to know you, all of you, the real you, the doubts and the dreams. With a deep breath, Clara felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. Okay, she said slowly. Maybe I can try to let go of some of those fears. Just as she began to feel a glimmer of empowerment, her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the moment. Clara glanced down, her heart sinking as she recognized the name flashing on the screen of Nina, her childhood friend. The last person she wanted to hear from at that moment. Is everything okay? Alex asked, noticing the change in her demeanor. Just a friend, Clara said, forcing a smile. We've been trying to catch up. Do you want to take it? He asked, his tone gentle. No, it is fine, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She has a way of making me doubt myself. Then let us not allow that, he said, his gaze steady. Focus on us. What we talking about matters. Clara nodded, grateful for his support yet overwhelmed by the juxtaposition of her phone call and this intimate moment. You rewrite, she said, her voice growing steadier. I need to focus on what is in front of me. Good. Let us keep this going then, he encouraged, his smile warm. Tell me more about your writing. What is the last thing you wrote? Clara hesitated, the weight of her unfinished manuscript pressing against her. It is a work in progress, she admitted, her voice laced with uncertainty. I haven't shared it with anyone yet. Why not? He asked, his brow furrowing in concern. It is vulnerable, she confessed, the words spilling out before she could stop them. What if it is not good enough? Clara, it is not about being good enough, he said, his voice slow and earnest. It is about expressing yourself. You have a story to tell, and it is your duty to share it. As Clara met his gaze, she felt the weight of his words grounding her, urging her to push past her fears. You really think so? I know so, he replied, leaning in closer, the breaths mingling, the air around them charged. This connection we have, it is built on honesty and authenticity. I want to support your journey. For a fleeting moment, Clara felt as if they were the only two people in the world. The commotion of the calf melted away, leaving only the two of them suspended in this intimate cocoon. All right, she breathed, her heart pounding. If I share my story, you have to share yours. A deal, he smiled, the corners of his mouth lifting. Let us exchange vulnerability. I'll go first. As he spoke, Clara listened intently, captivated by his story, the struggles, the triumphs, and the journey that led him to this moment. Each word he shared deepened the bond between them, and Clara realized how much she had been holding back. And what about you, Clara? He asked after sharing his own trials. What is your greatest fear when it comes to your writing? Clara hesitated, her heart pounding. That I'll never be good enough, that my stories will fall flat and no one will care. That is a fear we all face, Alex said, his voice soothing. But remember, it is not about the audience, it is about your voice. If you don't share it, how will you ever know? His words hung in the air, igniting a spark of determination within her. You rewrite, she Clara's heart raced as she held Alex's gaze, the weight of his words sinking deep into her thoughts. She felt precariously balanced on the edge of a precipice, peering into the unknown. The cafe around them faded into a blur, the laughter and chatter dissolving into the background, leaving only the two of them suspended in this moment. What if I don't know how to share my voice? Clara confessed, her voice barely above a whisper, laced with a hint of vulnerability. What if it is not worth sharing? Alex leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table, his expression earnest. You were already sharing it, Clara. Just by being here, opening up to me, that is a start. You just need to keep that momentum going. She bit her lip, torn between doubt and the flickering flame of hope ignited by his encouragement. It feels different talking to you, she admitted, a mix of fear and excitement surging through her. Like you see something in me that I can't quite see myself. Maybe I see what you're afraid to acknowledge, he replied, his voice low and steady. That you're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. The sincerity in his eyes made her pulse quicken, like a spark igniting a fire within her. But doubt lingered like a shadow, whispering reminders of her insecurities. What if you only see the surface? What if I fail? What if I disappoint you? Clara, he said, his tone firm yet gentle, disappointment is part of the process. That's what makes us human. But I am not here to judge you. I want to support you, to be part of your journey. The warmth of his words enveloped her, but a flicker of uncertainty danced in her chest. And what if I end up not being good enough for you? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. What if you discover the messy bits and decided that's too much? Alex's brow furrowed, the concern evident in his expression. If you think for 1 second that I do walk away because of a few misses, you are underestimating me. I am not looking for perfection, I am looking for authenticity. His words struck a chord deep within her, obliterating some of her defenses. What if this connection is just a fleeting moment? What if I am just a passing fancy for you, something to entertain your boredom in a new town? I don't believe that, he said, his voice steady. I feel something real here, Clara, something worth exploring. She held his gaze, the intensity of his sincerity washing over her like a wave, yet doubt still lingered. I wish I could be as confident as you, she murmured. It is so easy for you to believe in this connection, when I am still struggling to accept the possibility of it. Confidence is built on small steps, he replied, his tone encouraging but filled with an urgency that made Clara's heart race. If you don't take those steps, how will you ever know what you're capable of? Maybe I need a little push, she confessed, her voice growing steadier. But having someone like you invest in me feels overwhelming. Then let me be your ally, he said, his eyes sparkling. Allow me to help you take those steps. Together, we can turn those fears into stepping stones. Clara felt a rush of warmth at his words, a pull of magnetism she couldn't ignore. Okay, she breathed, looking down at her latte for a moment, her thoughts swirling. But it is a risk. Life is a series of risks, he replied, his gaze unwavering. You've already taken one by sitting here with me. You have nothing to lose. I guess you were right, she said, her heart hammering in her chest. I am just afraid of what I might find. Then let us explore together. I want to know every part of your story, the good and the messy, he said, his voice low, tinged with sincerity. For a moment, Clara felt suspended between hope and fear, the tension of the unknown wrapping around her like a cocoon. What if this moment is just an illusion? She asked, her voice thick with vulnerability. What if once I expose my truth, you decide it as too much? Then I'll be here to help you pick up the pieces, he said firmly, reaching across the table to take her hand, his warmth seeping through her skin. You are not alone in this. I won't let you go that easily. His touch ignited an electric current between them, and Clara felt the flutter of possibility bloom within her. Do you really mean that? She asked, searching his eyes for sincerity. Absolutely, he replied, his thumb gently stroking her hand. I am not going anywhere, Clara. I want to be part of this journey with you. The warmth of his words settled in her chest, battling against the lingering doubts that had haunted her for so long. Okay, she whispered, determination flickering in her eyes. Let us see where this takes us. Alex's smile widened, his excitement palpable. There is a world of stories waiting for you to uncover. Let us dive into them together. Before Clara could respond, the cafe door swung open, and a familiar figure entered Nina. Clara's heart sank as she spotted her childhood friend, her expression brightening as she looked around, clearly searching for Clara. Oh no, Clara muttered under her breath, pulling her hand away from Alex just as Nina spotted her and approached their table. There you are. Nina exclaimed, her voice cheerful yet a touch too loud for the intimate atmosphere. I've been trying to reach you. What are you doing here? Just, catching up with a friend, Clara said, her cheeks flushing as she glanced at Alex, whose expression was a mix of amusement and mild annoyance. Friend, huh? Nina raised an eyebrow, her gaze darting between the two of them. I didn't know you were making new friends at the bookstore. Alex extended his hand, a charming smile gracing his features. I am Alex. Nice to meet you. Nina's expression shifted from surprise to intrigue. Nice to meet you, Alex. Clara hasn't mentioned you before. How did you two meet? We bumped into each other in the aisle, Alex explained, his tone friendly, but Clara could feel the tension in the air as Nina scrutinized him. Oh, I see. A chance encounter, Nina said, her voice teasing but with an edge of protectiveness. Clara usually sticks to her books. It's a surprise to see her branching out. Maybe I am just exploring new narratives, Clara said, a hint of defiance creeping into her tone. She turned to Alex, noticing the way his eyes sparkled with amusement. And new connections. Good for you, Nina declared, her lips twisting into a playful smirk. Just make sure you don't lose track of your dreams in the process. Clara's heart raced, torn between the protective nature of her friend and the warmth of the moment she had shared with Alex. I am not going to lose myself, Nina, Clara said, her voice firm. I am just finding my way. Nina's expression softened a little, but her concern still lingered. Just be careful, Clara. Sometimes new connections can lead to unexpected paths. I appreciate your concern, Clara replied, a flicker of frustration gnawing at her. But I am allowed to explore. That doesn't mean I am losing myself. I didn't mean to imply that, Nina backtracked, raising her hands in surrender. I just think it is important to stay grounded. Grounded is overrated, Alex interjected smoothly, a playful glint in his eye. Sometimes you have to take risks to find your true narrative. Exactly. Clara agreed, feeling emboldened by his support. I am ready to step out of my comfort zone, even if it is messy. Nina regarded both of them with a hint of skepticism, her brow raised. Just remember that not everything that glitters is gold. I'll keep that in mind, Clara said, a newfound determination sparking within her. But I also believe in the possibility of new beginnings. As the tension eased slightly, Alex caught Clara's gaze, a smile dancing on his lips. How about we continue this conversation over dinner? I'd love to explore more of your story. The warmth in Clara's chest spread at the invitation, and she felt her heart leap at the thought of spending more time with him. I'd like that, she said, her voice steady, her confidence growing. Perfect, Alex said, his eyes sparkling with delight. Let us make it a night to remember. Nina watched the exchange, her protectiveness still lingering, but Clara felt a renewed sense of hope bubbling within her. All right, dinner it is, Clara said, her gaze flicking between Alex and Nina. As the conversation shifted to dinner plans, the initial tension began to dissipate. Clara could feel the warmth of connection blooming between her and Alex, yet a part of her still worried about Nina's protective instincts and her own insecurities. But for now, she was ready to embrace the unknown, to step out of her fears and into the story that awaited her. With Alex by her side, she